Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Joey Francis, your life, love, and relationship coach. Thank you so much for joining me. Has this ever happened to you? You start talking to someone, and somewhere along the way, it stops being casual. You like how they look, you like the way they carry themselves, and before anything real has even happened, you can already feel yourself leaning in. You start paying a little bit more attention. You answer a little faster. You make a little more room for them. You try to come off thoughtful, easy, helpful, understanding. You think you're showing them your best qualities. You think you're giving them reasons to want you. And in your mind, that all should work. Because what are you doing really? You're being kind. You're being available. You're showing effort. You're trying to make things easy. You're trying to show them that you'd be good to them. Then it happens anyway. They tell you they're not interested. They tell you they don't like you that way. Or they ghost you. Or maybe they keep you around just enough to confuse you, but they never choose you. And now you're stuck wondering, how the hell did this happen? Because from your point of view, you did everything right. You were helpful, you were patient, you were open, you were willing. You gave them attention, you gave them effort. You tried to show them what kind of person you are. So why did it still go nowhere? Why, after all of that, are you still the one being left behind? And for some people, this is where it gets worse because they do not take the distance as information. They take it as a challenge. So they lean in harder, they explain more, they offer more, they try to prove more. They keep reaching for someone who is already out the door, and they call that effort. They call that caring, they call that trying. What's really happening is that attraction has turned into performance. Somewhere along the way, they stopped getting to know the other person and started trying to earn acceptance from them. I know a guy like this, and on the surface, he looks like someone who should be grounded. He works in construction, he plays hockey, he coaches hockey. He has good relationships with his friends. You would assume there is some backbone there, some steadiness, some real sense of self. But the way he moves with women tells a completely different story. The minute he's attracted to someone, he starts shaping himself around what he thinks will get him accepted. He gets attached before he even knows them. He talks like he's going to take action without ever really risking anything. And even when a woman makes it clear that she's not interested, he keeps trying. And once you see the pattern, you realize this goes a lot deeper than dating. Because this is not about one bad message. It's not about one awkward conversation. It is not about one guy who doesn't know how to flirt. This is about what happens when someone does not know how to stay themselves in the presence of attraction. That is the heart of this. Some people become attracted to someone and stay curious. They stay observant, they stay open, they stay grounded. Grounded enough to say, okay, I like what I see so far. Let me slow down and find out who this person actually is. Other people become attracted and immediately start performing. They soften their opinions. They overmanage their words. They start imagining what the other person might want from them. They become agreeable, useful, generous, easy, available. Their energy shifts from, let me get to know you, to, let me do whatever it takes to get you to like me. And the sad part is, a lot of them genuinely believe that this is the right thing to do. They think they're being mature. They think they're being kind or they're being good, a good man or a good woman or a good partner. They think love is built by proving how much they can give, how much they can tolerate, how much they can do, how easy they can make things for the other person. And when that doesn't work, they're shocked because underneath all of it, they are carrying a belief they probably never said out loud. That belief is this: if I'm good enough, useful enough, patient enough, generous enough, available enough, then eventually I will be chosen. A lot of people live like that. A lot of people learn somewhere in life that love comes through effort, through usefulness, through keeping the peace, through not being difficult. Love comes through giving more than you should and asking for less than you need. Maybe they learned it in childhood. Maybe they learned it from a parent who only really praised them when they were easy. Maybe they learned it from family dynamics where being self-sacrificing was treated like virtue. Maybe they learned it in past relationships where they were constantly trying to win someone back, calm someone down, keep someone close, prove themselves, rescue somebody, fix somebody, or hold things together. However they learned it, the lesson got inside them. And then later in life, when attraction shows up, that lesson wakes up with it. So instead of simply liking someone, they start working, they start earning, they start proving. They do not know how to simply stand still and let reality unfold. They have to add something. They have to say something. They have to offer something. They have to make themselves more valuable somehow. That is why some people get attached so quickly. It's not always because they are deeply romantic. Sometimes it is because they are deeply conditioned. And this guy I know, that is exactly what I see. He doesn't just like women. He gets pulled into them before he knows them. He sees someone attractive, maybe on social media, maybe on a dating app, maybe even in passing, and almost immediately he starts writing a whole character in his head. He gives her depth she has not shown. He gives her softness she has not proven. He gives the situation weight it hasn't earned. And then he becomes attached to that story. That is the dangerous thing. Because once you are attached to a story, you stop dealing with the person, you start dealing with your own imagination. And imagination is a very persuasive thing when you want something badly. You start telling yourself, she's guarded. She's just been hurt. She's cautious. Oh, she's just overwhelmed. You know what? She's just waiting for someone real. She's not used to a good man like me. She's just scared. Maybe. But maybe she just doesn't want you. And people who are performing for acceptance do not handle that possibility well. Because if she simply does not want them, then all that effort, it feels wasted. All the care feels unseen. All the fantasy starts collapsing. So instead of taking the distance as information, they keep reaching. That's why you see the strange contradiction with people like this. They can be passive and pushy at the same time. Passive in the way they ask. Pushy in the way they stay. They will talk a big game, but the language is always soft. Soft enough to protect them from a direct answer. Yeah, I'd like to hang out with you. I just have to check my schedule. I'll let you know. Or we should do something sometime. Or I'd love to take you out if you're into that. See, there's always a haze around the question. Enough for them to think they tried, but not enough for them to stand there and face a clean yes or no. And that matters because people who do this are not only afraid of rejection, they are afraid of what rejection means to them. See, a healthy person hears no and feels disappointment. It's natural. We've all gone through it. A wounded person hears no and feels deficiency. Now, it's not just this person is not interested. Now, it's not, or now it is, I'm not enough. And there's a completely different experience here. And when no feels like it says something final about your value, you will do almost anything to avoid hearing it. You will speak vaguely. You will keep the door cracked. You will wait for the other person to make it safe first. You will pretend you are being patient when really you are terrified. You will call it being careful. You will call it being respectful. You will think you are playing it cool, but underneath all of it is fear. And this is where a lot of people get into trouble. Because fear makes them overgive. They think if they keep proving themselves, the answer will change. If I show her I care, for sure she will like me. If I help her out, if I'm there for her, if I keep reaching, she will be so impressed and want me. No. Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And if it does, you have a much bigger monster to deal with. Because people who perform for acceptance are the easiest people to take advantage of. And it's not because they're stupid, it's because they're hungry. You know, my father always has a saying that I can't even remember it. It doesn't matter like what you're eating. It matters how hungry you are. Because if it's something you don't like to eat, you'll eat it if you're hungry. Something along those lines. I can't believe it just left my mind. But nonetheless, these people are hungry to feel chosen, to feel needed, to feel like all the effort means something. Hungry to feel that if they just give a little more, maybe this time it will finally become real. And I've seen this way too many times. Guys who barely know a woman start helping her financially. They start buying things. They start paying for problems that aren't theirs. They start stepping in because there's a sob story or a crisis or some kind of emotional opening. And they immediately feel pulled towards it because now they get to play a role. Now they get to be the helper, the provider, the steady one, the guy who shows up, the knight in shining armor, the one guy who is different from every other guy. And listen, there is absolutely nothing wrong with helping people. There is nothing wrong with generosity. There's nothing wrong with showing up for someone. The problem begins when your help is trying to buy access. The problem is when your generosity is really a quiet plea that says, please see me, please choose me, please let me be something to you. That is where it stops being genuine. And that is why people like this are so easy to take advantage of. Because once someone realizes your self-worth is tied to being accepted, they can get a lot from you without ever really giving you anything back. And from experience, from me seeing this firsthand, some of these guys, they don't even date these women. They don't get a relationship. They don't build anything real. They do not even get to experience intimacy. They rarely get chosen. They just get kept around long enough to be useful. I know of somebody that was like this. They met this woman. This guy met this woman. Beautiful woman. And within a matter of, I don't know, 3 or 4 days, not dates, days of just talking, she convinced him to take her on vacation. She convinced him to pay her rent. She convinced him to buy her a new TV. And it's stories like this that should wake people up. Because if you are giving relationship level energy to someone who has only given you little to no attention or only comes around when they need something, you are in danger. You are not building a connection. You are feeding the fantasy inside your head. And some people will hear that immediately say, Well, that's just what good people do. Good people help, good people show up. Yeah, sure. Good people do help. Hi, I'm good people. I'm here trying to help you. Good people also know where the line is. Good people care without abandoning themselves. Good people are allowed to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. Good people are allowed to say, that is something I'm not comfortable with. Good people are allowed to say, I'm not in a position to help you that way. Good people are allowed to take a step back the moment the price becomes their self-respect. That is what a lot of these people do not understand. They think boundaries make them selfish. They think saying no makes them cold. They think putting their foot down makes them less kind. And the thing is, it doesn't. Boundaries protect your kindness from turning into self-sacrifice. And if you are someone who needs to hear that, hear it clearly. You are allowed to care and still have limits. You are allowed to help and still have standards. You are allowed to want love and still refuse to pay for access to it with your dignity or even your wallet. Now, before you even look outward at another person, I think someone in this pattern has to get honest about what is happening inside of them. Because a lot of people in this position spend their whole time trying to decode the other person and never stop long enough to question themselves. So, here are a few questions I think matter. The first, very simple. What happens to you when you like someone? Do you stay yourself or do you start changing shape? Do you stay curious or are you starting to manage how you are perceived? Do you speak honestly or do you start filtering yourself into what you think sounds best to them? Do you even listen to your own instincts or do you start overriding them because you want to keep the possibility alive? Those questions reveal a lot, especially if you can answer them and be completely 100% honest with yourself. Next question. What do you believe you have to do to be loved? That is the root. Do you believe you have to be useful, easy, helpful, generous, selfless, endless, patient, low maintenance? Do you believe that being needed makes you valuable? Do you believe that if you just keep showing what a good person you are, eventually the other person will see it and fall in love with you? Because if you do, you are not entering dating as yourself. You are entering it as a worker trying to earn a wage. Next. Are you trying to get to know this person or are you trying to get chosen by them? That question alone can save a lot of people months and years of pain. Because if your energy is focused on their opinion of you, on keeping them interested, on not messing it up, on staying in their orbit, then you are not choosing. You are auditioning. You're waiting for them to decide whether or not you matter. And you do matter. Every single one of you matter. And whether or not you matter, or if you think you don't matter, that's a losing position to live from. Question. What are you afraid a no would say about you? Would it simply mean not a fit? Or would it confirm something darker, something older, something that's been sitting inside you for years? A lot of people are not afraid of rejection itself. They are afraid that rejection confirms what they already believe about themselves. That they are not enough, that they are not desirable, that they are not worthy of being chosen. If that is what no means to you, you will spend your whole life trying to avoid it instead of learning how to hear it and move on with your dignity intact. Next question. What am I abandoning in myself just to keep this possibility alive? Sit with that one for a minute, because some of you are not losing yourselves all at once. You're giving yourselves away in pieces, a little honesty here, a little self-respect there, a standard you stop enforcing, a boundary you stop holding, a truth you stop saying out loud because you don't want to disturb the possibility of being chosen. And once that starts, the whole pattern is already moving, because now you are no longer standing in reality. You are negotiating against yourself just to keep hope alive. Do you know what that's like? If you didn't understand what that's like, negotiating with yourself to keep hope alive. That's like you going to buy a car, and the car salesman's like, "Oh, this car is, $40,000." And you say to him, "No, I'm going to give you 45." And the guy's like, "Okay, $45,000." And you're like, "No. I made a mistake. I'm going to give you 50." See that hope? That hope can be very expensive, because what it does is it asks you to pay with your dignity. Now, once someone has gone inward enough to see the pattern, they can start looking at the actual situation they are in. And outward, there are a few questions that matter a lot. So if you happen to be in a situation and you've asked those questions about yourself first, now you can ask, what do I actually know about this person? Not what I hope, not what I imagine, not what I've filled in myself. What do I know? Because if your feelings are running far ahead of the facts, you are not relating to a person. You are relating to a projection. Ask yourself, why am I helping this person? Is it pure generosity? Or is it tied to the secret hope that if I show up enough, this will become something more? What is this costing me? Not just your money, your time. And I've said it a billion times. Time is the most valuable resource each and every single one of us have, because we don't know how much we have and we can never get it back. Not just your time, your peace, your focus, your sleep, your self-respect, your dignity, your emotional stability. Ask yourself, would I still do this if romance was completely off the table? See, that question exposes everything. If the answer is no, then the gesture is carrying a hidden contract. It's not just help. It's hope wearing the clothes of kindness. And finally, am I responding to reality, as in the person standing in front of me, or am I responding to potential? Potential ruins a lot of people's lives, because potential keeps you investing in what is not there. Potential lets you justify overgiving. Potential lets you keep a fantasy alive long after reality has spoken. Reality says, "Hey, look at what's happening here." And potential says, "Well, maybe if you keep trying, you got a shot." And people who are hungry to be chosen will almost always choose potential, because potential gives them permission to avoid the truth. Now, I want to say this because I've been shitting on this guy and men in general. But this pattern is not just men, it's women too. Women get attached too quickly. Women perform for acceptance as well. Women soften themselves, overgive, ignore reality, and build a whole future off very little too. Women can become the helper, the rescuer, the agreeable one, the person who keeps showing up long after the truth is obvious. And generally speaking, they end up giving something a lot different than money and time: their bodies. And I touched on that last week. See, the story I'm telling today about this guy is because that is the person I know and how he inspired this episode. But the psychology belongs to anybody who turns attraction into self-abandonment. And that's why this episode matters. Because some of you are calling this bad luck. Some of you might be calling this modern dating. This is just how it is. You were saying people don't value good men anymore, or people only want toxic women, or whatever version that you end up telling yourself. Sometimes that might be a part of it. A lot of the time, it is you. It's the pattern. It's the way attraction pulls you out of yourself. It's the way you get attached to stories before you even hear the whole truth. It's the way you try to secure love through effort instead of letting it grow mutually. It's the way you keep calling overgiving devotion when what it really is fear. And I'm saying that with care because the goal here is not to shame anyone. The goal here is to wake you up. Because once you see the pattern, you can change it. You can slow yourself down. You can stop handing out relationship level energy to people who have not built relationship level reality with you. You can stop using helpfulness as a strategy. You can stop giving time, money, labor, your body, or dignity to the people who are still only offering possibility. You are allowed and can ask clearly. You can listen clearly. You can hear no and survive it. I mean, we've all heard no before, and we aren't dead, are we? You can let disappointment be disappointment instead of it turning into a statement about your value. And maybe, most importantly, you can start respecting yourself enough to stop trying to be more acceptable and start being more real. That is what changes everything. Because real connection does not begin when you become easier to choose. Real connection begins when you become honest enough to be seen as you actually are, to know who you actually are, to genuinely be yourself. That is when you find out what is mutual. That is when you stop being easy to exploit. That is when you stop performing. That is when you stop paying for a fantasy and start living in reality. And reality, even when it hurts, is still far better than any fantasy because reality can actually lead you somewhere, to a relationship, to another human being. Fantasy only leads deeper into yourself until your head is so far up your ass that you can't even see what's standing in front of you. So, if you heard yourself in any of this, I want you to take that seriously. I'm not judging you. I'm trying to help. Look at your pattern. Look at what attraction does to you. Look at what you start giving away too early, where you stop asking what you want and start asking what will keep the other person around. Look at how much of your dignity you are trading for hope, because the moment you see it, you can stop this from happening. And the moment you stop, you create space for something real. Sit with this. Listen to it again. Let it bother you. Let it show you something. Because some of you do not need more lines and more tactics or more effort. You need more self-awareness. You need more reality. You need a stronger relationship with yourself than you have with the fantasy of being chosen. Sorry. I get worked up for this because I see this consistently happening. And it's both men and women that you're willing to stop being yourself just so you can think you have someone. Because the truth is you have no one if you aren't yourself. Because eventually the charade's going to stop. You can't keep it up forever. And when that happens, the other person's going to be like, who are you? don't even know who you are. And maybe they would have liked you if you would have just been genuine from the beginning. But you're not even giving them a chance to see that. You need to know who you are, a sense of self. That's essentially it. And you got to hold on to that and be that, because it's who you are. Anyways, I'm just not going to not ramble on as much anymore. So I'm just going to say thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you all more than you know. And as usual, if you want to get in touch with me, if you have any questions, a story, or something in this episode hit close to home and you want someone to talk about it with, go to my website, joeyfrancis.com. That's JoeyFrances.com. And you can send me a message there. You can also find my books there, including The Logic of Me, a guided journal for self-discovery. Because if you are someone who needs help getting honest with yourself, I promise you that is a very, very, very good place to start. Also, I don't know if this is out yet by the time this episode gets released, but there is this. This is the Blueprint Method, dating with intention. So for all of you who are looking for a better system to date with intention, to date clearly, to date more efficiently, this book will guarantee help you. All right. Thank you again for being here. I'm going to leave you with this. To each and every one of you, your kindness is a beautiful thing. Your generosity is a beautiful thing. Your heart is a beautiful thing. Protect them, because the moment you stop performing is the moment you finally give yourself a chance to be loved in reality. Till next time.